I worked as a traffic controller for a while. My normal occupation is a programmer, but at times things can be hard, so I try different things. So one of the things I tried was a traffic controller job. So I'm going to let you know how I actually found the job, how much it pays, what training was required, and how I found the job. So stick with me and I'll let you know what I found out about working as a traffic controller. Okay, the first thing was applying. I saw a position for it advertised in the local newspaper, so I went along. It was one of those mass inductions, so it looks like they just took as many people on board as they could. We all met in some sort of a conference room somewhere, and so what was involved in the training? So after signing some contracts, basically the training was 1 week. So it was basically just training you how to stand in front of traffic, things to look for, how to operate a radio, fairly basic type of stuff. And they also gave us a course to do a white card, which is like a construction safety sort of qualification. It only took a few hours, and the guy hosting it was very cooperative in giving us answers if we had any issues. So it was mainly a common sense type of thing. Within a week, I was ready for my first shift as a traffic controller. So I always wondered how do these people get work, because every day it's somewhere different. So I found out. So what happens is they'll ring you the night before your shift and they'll tell you what time to turn up and where exactly it is, and they generally don't tell you the length though. And each day it was a different spot, and I was pleasantly surprised is they did a good job in keeping me almost fully employed the whole week. So not always. Some shifts were a bit shorter than a full day, some were only half days, but generally it was 30 plus hours per week. It was all paid as casual work. And what about the pay rate? So I found the pay rate was a little above minimum wage. So I mean, it wasn't bad for the type of job it was, and the hours were fairly regular, so can't complain about that. I guess the only downside is some of the places they wanted you to work at were quite a distance away, so you had to drive there with your car. So that was another requirement, is you needed a reliable car, and you had to pay for your own fuel. So there's no reimbursement of fuel. So I was really interested in doing night shift work, but I found that type of work was just not available to me. So I found out later from other workers that usually the more experienced people get the choice of the shifts, which is generally the night shift. The reason I want a night shift is, one, it will probably be a quieter time of day, so less stress, and two, the most important, I guess, to keep out of the sun all day. Because I'm not sure if you're aware, I live in Brisbane, which is regarded as the skin cancer centre of the world, so our UV ratings here are through the roof. Generally in summer they're 14, sometimes even 15, which is like well over the extreme range. So you're out here in summer in the sun for 10 minutes and you're burning. It feels like you're walking with someone with a hot air dryer on your back. So it's that burning. So unfortunately I wasn't able to get my choice of night shift, so I had to work day shifts. So here we come to some of the slighter negative things I found. Generally the work was assisting in council and controlling traffic, while they did roadworks, which meant you had to start very early. So most of the shifts were maybe 7 a.m. Plus the long drive to get there, and you couldn't be late, so because you'd be holding everyone up. So I'm not a morning person, so I wasn't overly fond of that. As I almost never got very rarely did I get a shift that wasn't early in the morning. I think I got one or two that were later in the day, like 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. But they were generally shifts that were like maybe 3 hours, so they just wanted to close the road and do something simple, like just do a little bit of tarring on the road or a little bit of painting or something like that. The company that contracted to the council, they also provided us with some clothes, so we had to wear long pants, long sleeve shirt, a hat with a cover on the side and the back. We also had to use 50 plus sunscreen. So you would think that would be enough, wouldn't you? Oh, and the most important thing is they also supplied us a lollipop, which easy fit in the boot of your car, and it was very light and it all folded up, a bit like an umbrella. So, did I see anything special while I was working as a traffic controller? I only worked for a few months as one in between jobs, and I only saw one incident, which was a bit of an eye-opener. The council had dug out the road. They had removed the top ceiling of a road and also some of the base. It was cut out maybe about 8 inches below the road level on one lane for a distance of maybe 100 feet. So they're going to repack it and retar it. So that whole thing was blocked off with fences, and we were just directing traffic around the one lane, the one open lane. So anyhow, I was just standing there with the stop sign. Some person just come up behind me, completely ignored my stop sign, completely ignored that there were gates and a big hole on one side of the road, just drove straight into the hole, bang, I thought they damaged the car, and then they went to the end and bang, jumped up on the road and just continued driving like nothing had ever happened. Weirdest thing I ever seen. So they didn't seem to care about their car and are completely oblivious that there was a hole in the road. So that's about the only incident I saw. So what made me leave a job so promptly and go back to my IT type of work? Well, the main thing was, one factor was the sun. And I had one shift that really made me throw the towel in straight away. So one thing they didn't tell us in the training is when you go somewhere, there's no toilets, so you have to somehow hold yourself all day. And also, when I started working, it was the middle of summer. Quite often in summer the temperature here is 32 plus, so sometimes it's 32, 34, rarely up to 40 or so, 42 Celsius this is. So I had a shift in the semi-country in a rural area, and was on a major road, and it was 38 degrees that day. And the council, being council I guess, were working all day long. They had their morning tea, their lunch breaks and afternoon tea and their other afternoon tea. But because they were digging a big trench across the road, they didn't want to move all their equipment off the road just so us two traffic controllers could have a break. So basically I had to work, I think it was 12 to 14 hours straight with a minimal break to have lunch, and that's it. No morning tea, no afternoon tea, no breaks, no nothing. And I was scared of actually drinking water because I didn't want to get to the stage where I had to go pee somewhere, because there was too much traffic. There's no one to relieve me. But the sun got the better of me, and after a few hours I had to go get a drink, and then I got told off for leaving my post for 20 seconds to go get a bottle of water. And If you've never experienced a job like this, standing on a tar road when it's 38 degrees is more like standing in 50 degrees. That road, once it starts getting hot, it really cooks. When I'm talking 50 degrees, I'm talking maybe over 110 degrees Fahrenheit, maybe even 120. So it was that hot. So you imagine I had long pants on, long shirt, a long hat, no chance to have a break for 12 hours, no toilet break for 12 hours, standing in a 50 degrees Celsius heat, and you can imagine what that did to my skin. By the time I got home, my skin was completely red with white spots all over it, like I look like a turkey just been plucked. So apparently it was heat rash, from just being exposed to too much heat. Or the other thing it could have been was a photosensitive reaction to the sun cream itself, because that gives very similar symptoms. So after that I thought, well, Jesus, look at my skin. I look like a lobster I've been cooking, even with all that sun cream on. So I thought, I can't do this for years. I'll die of skin cancer before I even get to 60. So I said, screw it. I'm not going to work a job where I can't even have a morning tea or I can't go to the toilet and stuff like that. So that's why I gave it up. So if you're looking for a traffic controller, just be aware of those little things. If you live in a cooler area, it might be much more pleasant. It wasn't pleasant where we are in a subtropical area, but in a cooler climate it'd probably be okay. You stand in all day and it won't be too hot. You're probably comfortable and the sun won't be burning you to a crisp. As long as you're fit and you're able to stand all day, you should be good. One little thing I had to work around is because I got quite bad vision. I've only got 820 vision. Is sometimes the other guy, because you always worked in pairs, so you would do stop and wait on one side and the other guy would do stop and wait on the other side. Sometimes you're so far away I actually couldn't see if he had stop or wait, because I actually couldn't read the sign, especially when it's reflecting in the bright sun. So I got around that quite easy. I just asked to use radios instead of using sight, and problem solved. It wasn't really an issue. So it's all these little things I've had to do all my life to sort of get around my vision problems. They're not too difficult if you sort of think things through. So I hope that was useful to somebody and gave you some insight. So please like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.